Hello, my love. How are you doing? Oh my goodness. It's been so long. It's been a week. Welcome back to Artists as Prophets. Thank you so much for being here. I see you and I appreciate you. Thank you for the positive feedback that I got from the last episode. It makes me really happy. So, first of all, this week's been a lot. This weekend has been so busy for me. I've been trying to find the energy to record this episode, so today's today. And I just want to get into our bodies together, so if you will join me for a deep breath and grounding. So let's take a deep inhale through the nose if that's accessible for you today. Hold it and exhale through the mouth. Another deep inhale through the nose. Hold and exhale. Whenever we need to bring stillness to the mind or the body or anything, we always have our breath, which is the most accessible and the most abundant thing that we have. And I think I don't talk about that in this episode, but one coming, or maybe I will, let's see. I have my notes down here again. I really like writing notes for this podcast because when I'm usually in conversation, my mind is always everywhere, with my friends or anyone. So it's good to have notes just because I think it's okay that my mind goes in so many different directions, but I always forget what it is that brought me there in the first place, and that's what I need to remember. So having notes is nice because I can look back to okay, where did this thought come from, and what was the point I was trying to make. I feel like that's the part in communication that I need to polish. Yeah, I was born during a Mercury retrograde, so if you're into astrology, maybe you know kind of what that means. But I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little off. It's because I literally am sick a little bit, so let's get into this episode. So as you can see from the title, there's just more foundation that I want to build in this podcast, and I want to continue the conversation that I started last week. As I was listening and editing, there was just so much more that I wanted to say that it's almost impossible to say it all in one episode, obviously. So there's so much more that I feel I was missing, and I want to kind of get some of that in this episode. So as you can see, we're going to be exploring this idea of what is art, what constitutes as art, and how do we judge art, and how do we judge our own art, others' art, and where this comes from, just judgment in general. I wanted to touch on a little bit. I at first, before I really get into this conversation of what is art, I wanted to kind of say, because I feel last week in my episode I was talking a lot about ego. And I feel ego is a big part of the human condition in general. But with art, it is a big part of art. It's a big part of who we are, really. And I was talking about how ego impacts us in our art making and how we view our art, but I didn't really get into too much of the fear, I feel like there's so much fear that can creep in when creating art or sharing our art. I experienced it firsthand last week when I uploaded my podcast. I was so nervous, guys. I wasn't like nervous to upload it. I was really excited to upload it. But after I uploaded it, oh my gosh, I was really, really like in my belly, like knots in my belly. Just like, wow, I can't believe I'm like putting myself out there, and like now I have to like upload it again like next week. Like I don't have to obviously, but I want to, and that's my promise to myself. So yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so I was like, wow, this is so nerve-wracking. Like I'm so nervous. I wonder if I like said the right thing, or like if I sound okay, like if I'm legible. Yeah, a lot of nerves came out last week in me. So thank you so much for like all the people who reached out to me and said they loved the episode, or even if you said you liked it, whatever. Like I don't know what people said. I black out when people are like, oh, I listened to your podcast episode. I'm like, ah. Thanks for listening. Like that's crazy. I was so nervous, and I feel like there's like such a big conversation and discussion around like sharing our art, and how it can be really scary sometimes. And I don't think like that fear really goes away unless maybe like your ego is really, really big, and then you're like, oh yeah, no, like this is what everyone's been waiting for, I guess. I don't know. And like sometimes the nervousness is, and the anxiety is really just like you're really excited. A lot of the time, like what I've done recently, because I have kind of put myself out there in new ways, like putting yourself out there in a new way that you haven't done before is very, very nerve-wracking, because you've never done it before. You don't know how people are going to receive it. Like you can't predict how the reaction's going to be. So it's like naturally really nerve-wracking. And I've put myself out there in new ways a lot in the past couple months. And what I have been practicing is just alchemizing the nervous energy into excitement, which it already is. So if you're not familiar with like alchemizing, because I feel like sometimes these words, like a lot of things get lost in translation. Alchemizing, basically transmuting, basically shift, like changing, like editing, adapting, whatever. Changing the nervous energy, the nervous anxious energy into excitement, because that's really what it is. It's like we're nervous and we're anxious because we care about it so much. So it's really just excitement. So shifting that in your head of just being like, I'm just really excited. I'm really, really excited for it. And thus there's some nervousness, but when the excitement is bigger than the nervousness, it's just way more bearable. So placebo effect, whatever you want to call it, it works. Yeah, the power of word. Like my mom always raised me to be like, what you say is so, so, so important. And she was so right. Like what you say is really important, because even if we're saying a joke, like even if we're saying a tiny little joke that we don't really mean or believe, our brain doesn't know the difference. When we say something that we don't mean as a joke, our brain literally doesn't know the difference between saying something for real and saying something as a joke. So if you're saying something as a joke, yes, you yourself, your conscious mind knows it's a joke, but your brain just is saying it and just thinks you're saying it. So like if you're trying to manifest something, or if you're trying to like live a good life, and you keep saying like, oh, KMS, or whatever, or just like dogging down on yourself. I've always hated like self-deprecating humor, and I feel like we've all been there at a certain point in saying self-deprecating humor. But the power of word, it's so important that, like, scientifically, like, this is backed by science, that your brain doesn't know the difference. So if you're saying something like that, you're basically affirming it. Like, we all know manifesting. I feel like it's been such a big trend at this point. We all know what it is to manifest and what that means. So you can manifest through the spoken word. That doesn't mean if you say KMS, you're actually going to do it. But it's like, by saying that, your brain is like registering that information in a way that it's like, it's not registering it as a joke, it's just registering it. So we just have to be mindful of like the words we say at all times. And that goes to the big things, even to the tiny little things of like, if we keep saying, I'm a really anxious person. Like, my friend Grapes has brought this up after reading the book Atomic Habits. It's like, if you keep saying you're a really anxious person, you're attaching yourself to that narrative, and you, like, how can you ever stop being anxious or being less anxious if you're so attached to the narrative that you're an anxious person? There's a lot of studies that are coming out right now that I constantly see on the internet, like studies that are saying anxiety is completely like 100, or like not 100%, but like very, very, very self-inflicting. Whereas like you are the person that's making yourself anxious, which is like kind of a given, but also it's like scientifically backed now of like, it's not that there's a chemical imbalance in your brain that's making you anxious, it's you that's making yourself anxious that's creating that chemical imbalance. Like, anxiety is so self-inflicted, so if we just shift our mindset and change these atomic habits in ourselves, we're shifting ourselves into a different version of ourselves and attaching less to like these markers of identity, attaching more to the collective, and attaching to the notion that we can be literally whoever we want to be. It works, man. I don't know what to tell you. Anyways, so yeah. I was really nervous when I was uploading the episode, and I was just trying to be like, I'm just really excited to start this new adventure, which was true and is true. I'm just really excited. But I forgot how nervous and it can feel. Like, I forgot how it feels to really put yourself out there in a completely new way. It's also really vulnerable to just talk to a microphone for like an hour straight and upload that to the internet, especially at this point in our timeline of the internet. A lot of people are just looking for reasons to cancel you, or like to be everyone's scared of being canceled. Which is honestly, like, I think it makes us more responsible in general, so it's not like a super bad thing. But it does get in the way of like vulnerability and people trying new things, and people being cringe, or people experimenting, or it gets in the way of like the idea that people can change, which is very true. People can change. Is it hard? Yes, like very hard to change. And it requires a lot of effort and a lot of work and a lot of understanding of ourselves, which I feel like most of us like don't really fully understand ourselves that well, and life is like a journey of understanding ourselves, so it's not an easy feat for sure. That was a pretty long aside, so let's just get into the episode now of like, what is art? So I already described creativity in the last episode as the strong desire / action to get a new or fresh idea or vision out of your mind and into a tangible experience that can be shared with others. So if that's what creativity is, art is any expression of creativity. pretty straightforward. Art is any expression of creativity. So that means art can be ourselves. We are art. Hello guys, we're so unique, each and every one of us. And we're an expression of a creative soul and being. So art can be ourselves. Of course, our creations. So, all the things that we know typically as art. Paintings, drawings, poems, writing, books, movies, TV shows, pictures, fashion, clothing, any expression of creativity. We know all the typical things of what we say is art. But art can also be the way in which we do things. Art can be in the way that we walk down the street. Art can be the way we ask questions to people. Art can be the way we make our coffee in the morning, or our matcha, tea, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Art can be the way we brush our teeth or wash our face, or the way we do our hair, our makeup, of course. Art can be even the way that we live our lives. Like, any little way can be art. The way we wake up in the morning, the way we talk to our lover or our best friend. Like anything, the way that we garden, the way that we grow our plants, the way that we treat our animals, the way that we look at trees, the way that we talk to trees, talk to the plants, talk to the sun, the moon. Any expression of creativity, you need to go fix, like, I don't know, what do people fix? Whatever, that I was going nowhere with that. The way that we, like, have a conversation, like, let's say, like, what's the most boring question in the world? How are you? It can definitely not be boring, but it's definitely one of the most boring questions in the world. Hey, how are you? Hey, what's up? The way that we answer that question in itself can be an expression of creativity. If we so desire for it to be an expression of our creativity, it can be. There's, for example, and this is just an example because I love Nara Smith. Like, I love this girl. We're the same age. I love Nara. I love this girl. Like, I love her. Okay? No one's gonna stop me from loving her. And she also, like, people used to say, oh, she's Mormon, and she's a black Mormon. Girl, literally, she just posted a video the other week saying that she's not Mormon. I'm so happy for her. I don't know, like, where this came from. Like, she's saying she's not Mormon. I don't, like, what, like, she's not Mormon, guys. She said she's not Mormon. I love her so much. Nara's art isn't like her cooking. Like, if we're real, her cooking is, like, she's not doing anything crazy. She's not doing anything revolutionary in her cooking. her creativity in her cooking is like not that unique. Her art isn't her cooking, it's literally the way that she lives. It's the way that she lives her lifestyle that is attracting audiences to her, attracting me to her. Hello, she's fabulous. She cooks for her whole family often, every day probably. She doesn't have a nanny, she doesn't have a team. It's just her and her husband and her 3, soon to be 4 kids. She's 23, just like me. Honestly, I would be Nara Smith in another life, I think. I'm so real. I would be Nara Smith in another life. Like, I love her so much. She's my fave. Her art isn't her art isn't the way that she cooks or the food that she makes. Her art is literally the way that she lives. That's her expression of creativity. That's her expression of creativity. There's also this book that I just started reading. It's called Spirits Come From Water by Ahime Ora. I just met her in Toronto the other week, like a couple weeks ago. She's, oh my god, she's like the, I don't know, like I have the biggest crush. She's amazing. She is a high priestess in the Ifa tradition, and I just love that for her. She like really got me into spirituality in 2021. I'll probably like eventually get into how I really got like started in my spiritual journey, which started in 2020. But in 2021, I found her account, Ahime Ora, and I made my first ancestral altar, and that's really what got me into spirituality. So shout out to her. She has a new book, How Spirits, Spirits Come From Water. And she says in the book, artistic creativity is the heartbeat of spirit. Artistic creativity is the heartbeat of spirit. And she says art is not what Africans do, but how we live. So this is a really good like way to visualize what art really is. It's not just like this tangible thing. It really doesn't have to be. Like in Africa, as the rest of like the developed world, whatever you want to call it, as the rest of the world was developing, industrializing, going through like the Industrial Revolution, this kind of skipped Africa because of colonization, and a lot of African countries were just, you know, trying to gain independence from their colonizers and trying to like get on their own feet. So industrialization and like these huge like factories and stuff, a lot of that stuff skipped Africa. Like a lot of Africa, there's not that many factories or like these huge industrial buildings. So a lot of our raw materials come from Africa. They're mined in Africa. They come from Africa, and they're taken to other countries like China or wherever else, and they are made into like, you know, they're manufactured and they're made, and then they're taken to the West and sold. But that's because there's not a lot of factories in Africa and industrialization. And so in Africa, a lot of things are made by hand. Shea butter, mango juice, leather, clothing, beads. A lot of things in Africa are made completely by hand. And I think that just like really beautifully paints a picture of like how art is not what Africans do, but it's how we live. Because when something is made by hand, first of all, it's inherently worth more. we all know this. Something's handmade, it's worth more because of that attention to detail, right? So I think needs to be like a whole revolution where we actually buy things straight from Africa because they're inherently handmade, inherently worth more, and they're beautiful because people put so much time into it. It's the way that we live in Africa that is really so much expression of creativity and spirit. So I hope that paints a good picture of like what art is. Art is really like, it can be anything, guys. Let's think big. Okay? So back to the conversation of like creating versus transmitting. Like some people may still really want to identify as a creator, and that's fine. I said in the last episode how I feel like we're not really creating anything. We're really just transmitting. We're transmuting. As artists, we're transmitting one thing into another, one energy into something else that we can share with others. The essence of like whatever art that we might create or we might want to create, we're not really creating the essence of that thing. We're taking one energy and we're making it into something else, something new, an idea that we have, but we're not creating the energy itself. So we're not really like creators. We're not creating that energy. We're witnessing that energy, taking it, and I really feel like creator like is served, it should be reserved for God, the universe, energy. Like we're not creating energy, we're just changing it into something that is our own unique expression of that energy, right? So creators should be reserved for God, the universe, energy, whatever you want to call it. Whether you believe in God, the universe, energy, it's all the same thing, really. I remember the first time I heard that because I used to be like, oh, I believe in energy. And then my brother-in-law was like, that's the same thing as God. Like, it's just the same thing, different word. And it's true. It's just the same thing. I actually think we should reclaim the word God, because I feel like, oh my gosh, the word God, like some I know some people just hear that word and they cringe, or they get like flashbacks or transported to a different time in their life. As someone who was raised Catholic, like extremely Catholic, like very conservative Catholic, I know I definitely used to feel like a little triggered by the word God. But I really think now we need to reclaim this word God, because as humans, we've always had an understanding of God / the universe / energy, and it's only colonization that has really like taken this understanding and flipped it on its head and like divided us so much from the God within, the God that's in everything, the God that lives in spirit, that communes in spirit, that God, the God that's in everything, energy. Like, God is like this religious term, the universe is like this spiritual term, energy is this scientific term, but it's all the same thing. We wouldn't be alive without energy. We wouldn't be here without energy. The Big Bang or whatever happened that started this universe would not have happened without energy, without the universe, without God. So I really like it's I was at the class I was at the club the other day talking about God casually as I sometimes do, and a friend of mine was like, girl, you believe in God? I was like, well, don't you? Like, what? They're like, I believe in the universe. I'm like, it's the same thing. Like, I kind of forget that we still all have like these different words for it, but it's all the same thing, and we need to reclaim this understanding of God, the universe, energy, like whatever it is you want to call it, doesn't matter to me, but we really need to, I think we need to reclaim the word God, because it's been so manipulated and taken from us, and there's only one, guys, there's only one energy source for all things in the universe. There's only one. So we're all talking about the same thing. So it's like, we don't have to fight over, oh my God, don't get me started on fighting. Don't get me started on fighting religious battles, because like, it's all the same thing. We're all talking about the same thing. So let's be on the same page, because that's how they're controlling us, is they're dividing us in this understanding of God. It's spiritual warfare, guys. Like, let's get on the same page. Let's get back on our Zoom, band together, and defeat all evil. No, but on a real note, I get so happy whenever I see people in America protesting. It like actually makes me so happy, because yes, no kings day. Yes, actually. Okay, that was a long aside, and I've already been recording for 40 minutes, and I need to fart. Let's get back to what is art. Art, what is it? That's what I wrote down. Artistic creativity is the heartbeat of spirit. Period. So, is there such thing as good or bad art? Oh my gosh. Is there such thing as good or bad art? What a good question, Flora. This is the thing about humans. We love, for some reason, we love binaries. Like, we love binaries so much. Oh my God. Here's the thing about binaries, okay? Binaries do a disservice to the complexity of truth. Binaries do a huge disservice to the complexity of truth. Okay? Now you may be wondering, what is truth? No, it's a good question. It's actually a really good question. What is truth? Guys, the first time I heard this conversation of like, what is truth? Let me just tell you. I was in high school and I was in my English class with Miss Ferreira Roche, and she was like, guys, what is truth? What is truth? Because here's the thing about truth. Truth is different for everyone. I'm looking at something. I'm looking at the sun. No, actually, the sun sets in the same direction everywhere. Let's say I'm looking at something, okay? I'm looking at like tomato. Oh my God. My examples are like so silly. If I can think something is true and you can think something is true, and those two things are different, then what I'm saying is true, what you're saying is true. So if both of what we're saying is true and it's contradicting each other, that means then there's no truth. So what is truth? Like, that's the whole conversation that we had in this English class in high school. And I was actually like blowing my brains out, because that's actually the most frustrating thing to think about the fact that there is no such thing as truth. That's so annoying. Like, what do you mean you're going to tell me there's no such thing as truth? Like, what do you mean? That's so annoying. And I got really annoyed by that class, because I'm like, or at least by that conversation of like, what is truth? Because it's like, I don't know. But there is a truth, and we all know that there is a truth. So if there is a truth, how are we going to explain what truth is if we can't explain it, but we know that it's there? So what is truth? Oh my gosh. Good fucking question. You guys actually tell me what you think truth is, because like, is there truth? Is there no truth? What is the truth? where do we get the truth from? Obviously, we know that there is some level of like truth, of like the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Like, we know that's true. We know that the earth is round. We know that's true. Even though there are some people where their truth is that the earth is flat, we know that the earth is round. So there's still like facts. Like, we know 1 + 1 is 2. We know 2 × 2 is whatever. Like, we know that those things are true. But when it comes to like philosophy or morality, that's when it becomes a little tricky to like really understand what is truth. And that's why I think binaries are such a disservice to the complexity of truth, because a binary of like good or bad art, or even the binary of course, man or woman. Like, what? Girl, there's intersex. What are they then? What are the intersex? People that are born with both parts or both genes, like where they don't have just XY or XXY, YYX. I don't even know the genes. I'm not a science person. Like I said, I never claimed to be. Okay? There are people that have different genes than just XX and XY. There are people who have XXY, YYX, whatever. So that's like a complex truth, that there is no just man or woman. And that's what is tearing frickin' Republicans' brains apart in America right now, because they actually don't understand that. Because they don't want to. Binaries do a disservice to the complexity of truth. So if we mix binaries and truth together, what do we get? Non-binary, because there's so much more truth than just one or the other. There's no just gay or straight. There's literally a whole spectrum in between there. And in fact, the spectrum is fluid, where people can actually move in between. Come on, guys. We know this. We know this. This disdain for the binary, because if we're being so real, like, when does the binary even exist? Even like in the simplest forms, where like two people are having a disagreement, one person says one thing, the other person says another thing, and they're like slightly different things that these people are saying. The truth is in both of them. It's not that one person is true and one person is lying most of the time. Like, sometimes the case is that way, but most of the time the truth is in both parties. There's truth in both parties, in both things that are being said. So like, when in life has there ever even really been a binary? Even in animals, there are so many gay animals. Like, there's so many animals that don't reproduce with each other, but they are in a committed something with of the same sex or whatever. Like, there are so many animals that change sex, and literally their genitals change. Or there's like so many non-binary animals and non-binary and gay, queer things in nature, that it's like, where is the binary? Even with the sun and the moon, there are times in the day where you see both the sun and the moon. Again, not every single day do you see both the sun and the moon in the sky at the same time. But yes, guys, like, there are days where you see both. The sun is up there setting or rising. The sun is up there rising, and you see the moon in the corner over there. Or the sun is setting and you see the moon rising up a little bit. Like, there is no binaries in our world except the ones that humans have put onto ourselves. And everything else. Like, let's be so real. Let's be so real. There are no binaries. If you can name like an actual binary, drop it in the comments below. No, but like, even black and white, like just the colors, not the races. white is like the absence of color. First of all, black and white are shades, so they're not even colors. White is the absence of color, and black is like technically all the colors, right? So it's not even fucking binary still. Like, it's still not binary. There's like no binariness in the world except what humans have projected onto the world. So it's really fucked up actually. But yeah. So what is truth then? What is truth? Okay? Truth is a complex thing that I think we should always inquire about. In my opinion, it's something that we should always inquire about. And I'm a Libra, so you better trust that I inquire, okay? I inquire. And I'm pretty good at it, in my opinion. I feel like I have really good judgment. I feel like my judgment has not been wrong since like 2002. Sorry, what? I was not, that's not what I mean. I'm being so for real when I say this. My judgment has not been wrong since 2022. Okay? 2022 was like a big year for me. A lot happened. Like, I learned so much in 2022. I went tree planting. What the hell? I'll talk about that in another episode because, girl, that was something to talk about. I went tree planting. I met the love of my life. I almost went on a date with a 17-year-old. Like, a lot happened in 2022. And I learned a lot of things, and the biggest thing I learned, I think, in 2022 is to trust my judgment, because I have pretty good judgment. Like, in 2022, I really proved to myself, but before 2022, like before the summer of 2022, which is when I went tree planting, I feel like my judgment was like maybe like 70-80% there. 70, I would say. But tree planting like really like taught me so much about myself and about the world and about people, that when I came back from tree planting, I was actually like, something shifted. I was a little bit different. I learned a lot, and I learned that I have really good judgment because, like, not just at tree planting, even the whole year in 2022, I was like never wrong about any judgment, especially at tree planting though. I was never wrong about any judgment that I made. And I don't make judgments, like, I don't make huge judgments on people. I meet people and I'm very, very attentive with how they treat me, how they treat others, and how they treat themselves, and how they treat the earth. I'm very attentive of these things, and a lot of the time, for whatever reason, I think people think that I'm cool. I have an Aquarius rising, so I think a lot of people think that I'm like a cool guy, like a cool person, so they treat me really nicely, actually. Like, most people treat me really cool. Like, they treat me really, really well, and so I'm a little privileged in that. Maybe I have some pretty privilege as well, I don't know. But yeah, most people are really nice to me, and they want me to like them, and they want me, like, they want to be friends. Most people. Not to brag. It's not even like, oh, if someone treats me nicely, I think they're a good person. I really don't operate like that. I operate in the way that people treat everything, and not even just me. Like, the way someone treats me is actually like, like, at this point in my life, most people treat me pretty well, with respect and with admiration, and they like me for the most part. Again, I'm a Libra, like, I'm pretty likable. Not to like not to, boost my ego, but it's true. That's the truth. I don't even judge people based on like how they treat me, but really, really like how they treat others, and how they treat me versus how they treat others. I notice a lot when people treat me like in one specific way, and then maybe they treat their best friend or like someone close to them, a friend of theirs, in a different way. I really notice those things. I'm just pretty attentive. And I notice small things, like if someone's a little too nice to me, like you don't even know me, but you're acting like you're trying really, really hard to be super nice, do all these things for me, trying to be my close friend. I notice that, and a lot of the time, like, at least in my experience, like, most of my friends, most if not all of all of the friends that I have right now, yeah, they were nice to me in the beginning. Yeah, like we wanted to be friends because we both felt a vibe. We were both on the same wavelength. Most of my friends, like, we wanted to be friends immediately, but it wasn't like too much. Like, nobody was doing too much of like doing a lot, because again, you have to get to know someone and all these things, right? There's a difference between someone doing something nice for you because they're a nice person, and they're doing something nice because they're nice and it's easy for them to do something nice for you, so they do it. That's one thing. And there's a different thing when someone like goes out of their way to treat you really, really well because they really want either to be your friend or they want something from you. It's another, not even like they want to be your friend, because I feel like that's different. Like if someone wants to be your friend, then they'll try to hang out with you and stuff. But if someone wants something from you, it's not even like, oh, let me get to know you, let you get to know me. Because I feel like in a mutual like, oh, we both want to be friends with each other, we're getting to know each other, we're inquiring, we're like being kind in a way that we want to get to know each other. But when it's like, oh, I want something from you, it's like so nice to you that it's like kind of suspicious. I'm like very observant of these things. Anyways, and I don't like make a whole judgment on who that person is based on that small thing, but I notice those small things. I remember, I store them somewhere in my brain of like, oh, that's interesting, oh, that's interesting. I store it away in my brain. And then the more things that reveal themselves in time shows me a bigger picture of where that person is at. And I don't even use that big picture to make judgments on that person, because even if I'm noticing like someone's being really, really nice to me because they want to be my friend, and I'm noticing that, I just notice it. Like, I don't even make a judgment of like, oh, they must have some malicious intent or they must want something from me. Like, what do they want? I don't even like really think about those things as much. Maybe I have it in my head of like a thought came up of like maybe they want something from me, or maybe they like want, yeah, maybe they want something from me. But I just keep it in my head. Like, it's not at the forefront of all my interactions with that person. I'll still be kind, I'll still be cordial, I'll still get to know them a little bit more. But eventually, it does show whatever their intentions are. The truth always reveals itself. The intentions always come out. And I've never like had a wrong judgment. I've never had a wrong judgment since 2022. And obviously like everyone's like a little bit wrong like here and there, but that's why you shouldn't like make like huge judgments. I digress. The point is, I'm pretty good at finding truth. I'm so good at finding truth that I don't even fully believe my friends. And you can ask them. Well, you might, maybe not, you can't ask them, but like my my dear friends who I love, and of course if they tell me like something like that happened to them or something, obviously I'll believe them. But if they're telling me especially like a story of like, oh, this person told me this person told me that, I'm very hesitant at believing everything that they tell me, especially if it's like through the grapevine, because first of all, it's one thing like for all of us, whenever we tell a story, like even myself, I know this for a fact, for even myself, we all embellish things. When we tell stories, we embellish things because it's a story. Like, we're storytellers as humans. Like, we want to be dramatic. We want to like have that like dramatic pause or whatever. Like, as people, we're dramatic and we like to be dramatic. And so even when I tell a story, I know that like there's probably some embellishing that happens just naturally by accident, or like just like just there's some embellishing because we're humans. So when my friend is telling me something that their friend told them, I'm like, who's telling you? Who's the source? How well do I trust their information? Because I know that there's embellishment that's happening. Like, I know that the story that you're telling me probably isn't 100% true. It's probably like 70-80% maybe true. And sometimes I straight up just don't believe my friends when they'll tell me something because I have a different understanding or perception or intuition of something, and I'll straight up be honest. Like, I'm not the type of person that just like I'm so honest with my friends, and I hold my friends to actually a pretty high standard. My friend was just like, Amashika was just saying this to me the other day of like, I love how you hold your friends to a high standard, and like you really push your friends to be their best, and you have high expectations for your friends, and that's all very true. So like, I love my friends dearly, and I push them to be their best, and I have high expectations and high standards for my friends. I'm a Virgo Venus, so that will tell you a lot of like, that's really the way that I love people, is kind of by being like a little nitpicky. That's kind of how I show my love. It's kind of annoying. I have to like work on, I don't have to say everything that I see, because sometimes it can be hurtful. But I'm really good at finding the truth in things, and even if my friends tell me a story, like, and they have where I've straight up been like, I don't believe that, like, at all. My friend will tell me something that their friend told them, and I'll fully just be like, I do not believe that. I'm sorry, I don't believe that. And then I end up being right. Their friend ends up being unreliable, and I end up being most likely right. I mean, sometimes we'll never know what the real truth of the matter is, especially if we're not involved in something. But I think I'm really good at finding the truth. And I think I have really good judgment that I cultivated. I cultivated good judgment because it hasn't always been this way, for sure. I haven't always had the best judgment. I've had some wrong judgments, I'm sure. Can't remember, but I'm sure I've had that. No, I'm kidding. I've had some friends who I've like trusted for something, or like I've had one judgment and then I ended up being like a little bit wrong or whatever. I ended up being fooled, whatever. I've had that. But I think I've cultivated, since 2022, I think I've cultivated really good judgment. And I cultivated that by being curious and open-minded. I think I want to go over really quickly like how to cultivate good judgment. Just to wrap up this conversation of like, what is truth? And if I feel like I need to say it again, then I will. So how do you cultivate good judgment? Let me look at my notes. The first thing that I have here is curiosity. I love it. I love curiosity. Being curious about all sides of the picture. Not just your source of information, not just the side that you think is probably right, but like also the other side. I feel like when we talk about like judgment and stuff, there's always that one person that's like, oh, just to play devil's advocate. Oh, let me just play devil's advocate for a second. No, that's not what I mean. Okay? Actually, devil's advocate kind of annoys me and like pisses me off. And I used to be that person of like, oh, let me play devil's advocate. But like, that's actually not what we're doing. I don't think that's what we should do. Okay? Because first of all, the devil, let's talk about the devil for a second. The devil is a mythical creation of like fucking, I don't know, Catholics or Christians a long time ago. The Satan, Lucifer, Satan was only in the I took a class on Satan. I literally took a class, the history of Satan, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the history of Satan in another podcast episode. I'll pull up all my my notes and we'll discuss the history of Satan, because it's actually pretty interesting. But I took a university class called The History of Satan. The figure of Lucifer and Satan was only in the Bible like two, maybe 3 times. And it was like small references of Satan or Lucifer. Small references. Only in the Bible 3 times. The actual idea of like what we think the devil is was created by Dante's Inferno, the book. That was the book that was like personified the devil. Okay? Otherwise, the devil has always been like this mischievous figure. Okay? This mischievous figure. This mischievous, malicious icon. Okay? So why do we have to advocate for him? Like, why do we have to advocate for the devil? You don't need to advocate for the devil just because you're looking at that side of things, okay? I think instead of being like, oh, like I'm playing devil's advocate, no, let's talk about actually what we're doing, because what we're doing is we're just bringing light to the shadow. We're bringing a little flashlight to the shadow part of things that we're not talking about, we're not discussing, we're not seeing. We're bringing what's in the shadow to light, and we're just looking at it, and we're being curious about it. That doesn't mean we have to advocate for the devil, okay? It just means that we're looking at something that maybe other people are ignoring, or maybe it's not easy to talk about, it's not easy to see because it's in the shadow. We're bringing light to the shadow, and we're just looking at it, we're asking questions, okay? When we talk about World War I, we're not playing devil's advocate just because we want to know why Hitler wanted to kill all the Jews, okay? Or not just the Jews, black people, gay people, blah 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 blah, trans people. Hitler wanted to kill a lot of people, okay? We're not playing devil's advocate just because we're asking, why did Hitler want to kill those people? We're just looking at the shadow part of this story. We're just bringing light to the shadow. We don't have to advocate for the devil. We don't have to advocate for the shadow. We're just bringing light there, okay? So let's drop the advocating for the devil, and let's just bring curiosity and bring light to all sides of the picture. Let's just bring light to all sides of the shadow of the picture. We're just being curious, and curiosity is what's important there. So how to cultivate good judgment, number 1, curiosity. Number 2, good at asking questions. Wow. It's something that a lot of people are really bad at. And not just good at asking questions, but attentively listening. As I may have mentioned, I am a death doula. I did my training to be a death doula earlier this year. And that's something that we talked about in my death doula training, is just how a lot of people are actually really bad at listening. Like most people are actually really bad at listening. So it's a skill, attentive listening, and not just listening so that we can respond, but like actually being present with that person, dropping all of our thoughts and just listening to them, maybe repeating what they're saying back in our heads. That's how we're attentively listening. And that's how you can be good at asking questions, by actually listening to what the person's saying and asking questions about what hasn't been said, which leads me to my next point. Listening and hearing what is not being said. That's how you really get good at asking questions, is by listening and hearing what is not being said. Because we all have a bias. First of all, we all have a bias, and also when we're telling stories, like we're people, we're flawed, like we're not perfect at telling every single part of the story. So you have to listen and you have to hear what is not being said in order to know what questions to ask, but also to know what information is missing, because we can't really make a good solid judgment without understanding what we know and what we don't know. And in order to know what we don't know, we have to listen and hear. So this doesn't mean reading between the lines. No. That's interpretation and that's assumption. We do not need to read between the lines to make a judgment, because we're interpreting the story, and now we're making assumptions, which are not helpful. Assumptions are not helpful. A lot of the time, assumptions are not helpful. So, and also they're not accurate. Like, a lot of the time, assumptions are just not accurate. So it's better to have a question mark in our head than to have an assumption, I think. So instead of assuming, by actually listening, we get to understand what information we're actually missing, what we know and what we don't know. And then we can ask questions. Maybe they won't have all the answers of like, oh, I don't know this, I don't know that. Okay, that's just missing information, understanding that, and just leaving, like, making a mental note of that, and moving on. The next point I have is understanding the invisible. So the invisible is the feelings and emotions that are around the table. For example, sometimes if somebody's feeling very activated, someone's really angry, or someone's really sad or upset, that's going to influence the way they're telling you the story, or that's going to influence the way they're talking to you. If someone's like experiencing heavy emotions, or even an overwhelming sense of emotions, that's going to 100% impact the way they're telling you the information, versus if they were like completely neutral, having a really good day, chilling, they're well fed, they're having the best day ever, they're probably going to tell the story differently, versus when they're like super angry or super upset or super mad or sad or whatever. That's going to be two different stories. So understanding what's invisible in the situation. How are you telling me the story? What are the feelings and the emotions that are present around the table? And how does that impact the intention of the story? Is this person trying to sway me or convince me of something? What's the intention? What's the impact? What's the actions that are being done? Like, what are the invisible things that are present that are not being named or said or expressed? And how does the invisible impact the storyteller or the person or even yourself? Like, maybe you're angry, maybe you're angry, maybe you're upset, maybe you're sad, and maybe you're gonna remember it in your body a little bit differently. So like making a mental note of that, like, this person told me this, but I was also really angry at the person that we were talking about, so that's impacting the way that I'm registering and remembering and feeling the story. So really understanding what's invisible and what's present that we cannot see, and also understanding that and making note of that. And then the last thing that I have is good intuition. So good intuition is something, again, that you need to cultivate, that is different from good judgment. Good intuition, good judgment, two different things. The intuition part is like a whole other story of like how to cultivate good intuition. That's different. But yeah, so how to cultivate good judgment, curiosity, good at asking questions and attentively listening and hearing what is not being said, and understanding what is invisible in the situation. That's all the things that I have here for how to cultivate good judgment. So hopefully that was helpful to hear. And so to understand the truth, you need good judgment and good intuition. I'll talk about this more, I think, in the next episode, because there's again a lot to say about like how to cultivate good intuition. There's rarely truth in binaries. So what is good or bad art? That's where I think I'm going to stop today, because there's so much more that I could talk about. I have like some examples of celebrities and stuff, of like things that have happened recently, that I wanted to talk about, the themes that we talked about in this episode and the last episode. So, oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about. But I'm gonna end the episode here because I'm tired. I need to eat, and I've been at this for almost 2 hours now. So thank you for listening. I hope you got something from that. And I kind of want to like end each episode maybe with like a journal prompt. Like I kind of want to end each episode with a journal prompt. So I don't have one written down, but let me just think for a second. Okay. I think my journal prompt actually is very obvious. So the journal prompt for today, if you're going to be super, super honest with yourself, like being really honest with yourself, where are you with your judgments? How would you describe your judgments? Do you judge often? Is it like a present thing? Are you judging everyone and everything? Are you judging yourself? Do you have good judgment? Are you often wrong about people or right about people? Where are you with your judgment? And where do you want to be? Yeah, that's the journal prompt for today. Take a second to think about it. Maybe you want to voice note your answer. Maybe you want to write it down. Maybe you just want to talk to yourself. That's totally cool too. Or just, like talk to yourself. Go to the washroom, take a shower, write it down, voice notes. And maybe just explore this idea for a second. I think in the next episode I want to talk more about judgment because that's such a huge topic again. And then I want to talk more about good and bad art and what that means. Wow. Okay, lovely. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Take care of yourself. Rest well. Love yourself. Give yourself a little hug. Thank you for being here for yourself, and I appreciate you listening, and I hope you have a good day. Love you.